Welcome to my side of town.
Good day. In this episode of My Side of Town, let's take a break from the grueling daily routine and take a walk on the peaceful and quiet avenue and meet new people again in the neighborhood. Let's forget the current issues for a while and focus on the lighter side of things like music, arts, prominent personalities and their stories, their careers. I'm Dante Luzon and join me for the next 60 minutes here on My Side of Town.
Before IMG,
I was a civil engineer.
Accountant.
I was a plain housewife.
Before IMG, I used to be a doctor.
I was a maintenance crew.
manufacturing operator.
I'm a housewife.
I was an accounting clerk.
I'm a medical doctor.
I am an engineer.
Before IMG, I used to be a teacher.
I was a government employee.
A production worker.
Geologist. I am a bank employee.
Before IMG, I was an admin staff.
I was a seaman.
Design engineer.
I was a deli manager.
I was a telecom engineer.
Before IMG, I was quality director.
I used to be a doctor.
Production operator.
Industrial engineer.
IT home-based freelancer.
Before IMG, I was a manufacturing specialist.
I was an exporter.
Engineer.
Software developer.
I was a Caltex dealer.
Admin officer.
I was a florist.
Before IMG, I was a service crew.
I'm great.
I am great.
I
am
I am great. IMG. IMG.
IMG. I am great.
I am
G.
I am great.
I am great.
I am great.
Welcome back. You're now on My Side of Town and our first guest, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't have to go far looking for my guest because he's part of the MyTV family. TV host of the show Republica, which you could watch on weekends here on Channel 3. At the same time, he used to be a news anchor, and I saw him in Manila when he was still anchoring or hosting a show on the government channel. Also, he's the commander of the 1st Infantry Brigade Ready Reserve, and the son of former Cebu Governor and Senator Rene Espina, and a good friend. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eric Espina. Hi, Eric.
Hi, thank you very much, Dante, for taking the time to invite me.
Such an honor to have you with us.
Not at all, not at all.
I'd just like to reminisce a bit
Yeah.
because I was then a young announcer, not really young though, but I was on my early days of broadcast when I saw you hosting a show and anchoring a news program on PTV4 in Manila. Was that the first broadcast stint that you had? Or?
Not really, because people might forget that we used to have a radio station before here in DYRE, which was closed down during martial law because by virtue of a presidential commitment order issued to stop the transmitter from being used. So I did a DJ stint there for a time. That's as far as media is concerned, but I was really a writer even from grade 3, grade 4. And I really started getting into the grind, so to speak, when I took an exam for the campus paper. It's called the Bedan because I'm a Bedan, so the name of the campus paper is the Bedan in college. So they took me in. I was a junior staffer, and one of my first articles that I wrote became an extra because I was able to interview Ninoy Aquino when he had a furlough from his captivity in Fort Bonifacio. I did this without my father knowing. So I was first year college.
So when you found out, what was his reaction?
I'm sure he would have told me not to do it because since Ninoy Aquino at the time was the #1 enemy of the government. So, but since I felt that I was a journalist, or I pretended to be, so I drove the car by myself, first year college, to Time Street. I did a recon. I saw 2 Metrocom cars. At the time, it was Metrocom. And I actually had 2 tape recorders. One big one for show, notebook, ballpen, camera, and I had a small tape recorder because I knew they were going to confiscate everything. So they thought I would be left with just a notebook and a ball pen. But lo and behold, I had a little tape recorder on my leg. But I was really so worried. I was really sweating because when I registered, I saw the guard coming in towards me, and he had a metal detector. So I signed as quickly as possible, and I said, "Pwede na ba akong pumasok?" So the guy said, the guy on the table said, "Sige, pwede na." So I went through there, and I was able to interview Ninoy, and then the entire page, one page back to back came out Santo Niño Day in Manila.
Was there any reaction from the government when that article came out?
Well, the school administration had to debate over whether to publish it or not, but my editor at the time decided that we're still going to go ahead with it. Anyway, the publication was not being, how do you call it, published in San Beda College, but in a different printing press.
So did that open the door for you to cross over to television eventually, or?
No, then I started, well, this is how the newspaper looks for the school. That's how the school, the newspaper looks like there. It says the Bedan. Okay. But this one is very significant for me because...
You still have that, huh?
Yes, because this is the time when I won the presidency of San Beda College.
Spina wins presidency with 70% of electoral
Yeah.
vote.
This is how the newspaper looked like. And then from here, I started writing for Mrs. Betty Go Belmonte.
Okay.
Philippine Star, but this was a magazine yet, Star Magazine. And then later on, it became Star Ngayon or Pilipino Ngayon, which I was writing in Tagalog. So the title of my column there was Nakasandong Pananaw. Nakasandong Pananaw. Kana bang
Sando lang.
Sando lang yun. Kaya para makasagyo kayo.
Nakakamisita.
Nakabisita rin yun. So, para gusmasa. Kaya kanangaran sa mga tao sa uno, magkabisita rin man o kundili, maghubo.
Okay. So the PTV stint, ano sa mo to siya?
Came about somewhere around 1980s. 86, 87, thereabouts. Well, not really 86, 87. I'm very sorry. 1981.
Were you offered or did you apply?
No, I was the president of the student council, and then I saw that De La Salle had what is called as Miss La Salle, Binibining La Salle. So as student council, you know, one up, I wanted television. I wanted Miss San Beda to be put on television. Okay. So I approached 3 television stations, Channel 7, Channel 8 Bulaga, Student Canteen, and another one from Channel 4, Contodo Pakulo. So it was Contodo Pakulo that right away responded, we're going to incorporate the Miss San Beda into the lunchtime program.
Okay.
So I said, I beat the Lasalites because now my beauty contest is on television. And so they made me do a little stint with Mitos Villarreal, then the director.
Yes.
And she liked what she saw. And she called me into Channel 4 and MBS 4 and said, would you like, I'll give you a job.
Okay.
So she was going to pay me 3,500 a month.
Okay. Was that big enough at that time?
I was able to buy a car with it later on. I mean, when I put all the money together. So I did a lunchtime program, 1-hour program from 11 to 12, if I'm not mistaken. And then I'd go straight to San Beda because I had extracurricular activities as president. And of course, I was also aspiring for my honor roll.
So that show led to another.
Yes, and then I attempted in 1986-87 to get into television. By the way, the reason why I wanted to get into television was since I was an activist, I was member of CEGP, College Editors Guild.
Were you? Huh?
Yeah, and then partly LFS. But most of my friends went underground.
Yes.
And so if they got lost, nobody looked for them.
Okay.
In my case, I went the other route.
Okay.
I went the Ninoy route, which is let everybody know that you exist so that nothing can happen to you. So that's the reason why I got into television. And then I did news, I did public affairs.
I think you were safe there because you were in a government station,
Yeah,
and it's Marcos who controlled.
This was already post 86.
Okay.
Post 86 already. The one in Channel 4 was when I was still in college. But my first entrance actually to television was Channel 13. Post EDSA.
IBC.
Yes, under Punzalan. Punzalan.
Orly Punzalan.
With Jess Di Colongon. We did a 1-week newscast. But the
the head of Channel 13 was removed after that. So, so the program, newscast also closed. I transferred to Channel 9 with Frankie Abao. So I was in Newswatch for close to a year.
When you joined RPN, was Harry Gasser still there? Or?
No more. It was already Frankie Abao, and then from there, I transferred to Channel 4. So in Channel 4, I stayed for almost 14, 15 years.
I think that's where I saw you that time.
Yes.
You mentioned to me, I think, in a casual conversation we had off camera, that you auditioned GMA7 in GMA7.
Yes, I auditioned in GMA7. We were about 2,000 individuals, and I had to learn Tagalog in 3 days. And then it was a fast learn because I realized I was thinking in English and translating in Tagalog. So all I had to do was think in Tagalog. So I was one of the two that made it out of the 2,000. And there were 10 girls, 10 ladies that were being chosen. One of them is Vicky Morales, Blinky Recto. The real winners, so I heard from the insiders, were me and Blinky Recto. But somebody from GMA7 was thinking, this looks so political. You have a recto and an espina. So we can't do this. We can't do this. So eventually they didn't hire any guy. The two men that made it was me and Ron de los Reyes.
Okay.
The other 10 was of course Vicky Morales, Blinky Recto, and the rest. I could not remember. But I remember when Vicky Morales finally made it. They liked, well, there was one top honcho, a lady who liked Vicky Morales because, according to my insiders, hindi malakas ang dating and was not a threat to the older...
When you say malakas ang dating, maybe the people there at that time were threatened by your presence?
Well, I really don't know, but anyway, I remember when Vicky Morales finally was part of the show with for GMA. She was not even sitting beside the other two seniors, the veteran broadcasters. She was put on a television set.
Oh.
She would come out on television. So that's as far as the clues that I can give.
With a very colorful career in Manila, you were picking up, and then suddenly you decided to come home. Why is that?
Well, you know, I'll tell you, Dante, no, I'm the only broadcaster that was fired by 2 presidents from broadcasting. Yes. In Channel 9, I was fired by Corazon Aquino.
Fired for what?
Because the politics of because as what I heard, according to Didi Satanco, was the spokesperson there before, Cory didn't like the politics of my father.
Okay.
And was identifying me with my father.
Okay.
So my father one day talked to Didi Sitanco and said, you know, my children are civilians. They're not part of the political warfare. But you're taking this it's an absurdity to take it very personally.
Okay.
And then the second one who fired me from Channel 4 was GMA.
Gloria?
Gloria, yes. I wanted to be fired because I was deputy spokesperson for Fernando Po Jr.
Oh, okay. Now I see the picture.
Yes.
So was that the trigger mechanism for you to come home to Cebu for good?
Not really. I felt that many of our problems were here in Cebu and in Negros Oriental. And I wanted my father to come back here. I was telling him, Dad, I want you to come back to Cebu, your land of your birth, standing up.
Where was he based then?
At the time we were in Manila. So the business was here in Cebu. We had some business in Manila, Antipolo, and Negros also. But I said, it's time for you to come back here so that, you know, you can enjoy Cebu. We can travel all around Cebu while you're still able.
Yeah.
I don't want you coming back on your back and on a wheelchair. So,
speaking of your dad, he left an indelible mark in the pages of the records of government service. How was it growing up with your old man?
You know, I'll tell you something. No, we had a very democratic upbringing in the sense that politics was our staple in the dining table, and all views were allowed. But it's really hard to debate with your father. And the first place, I never did, because I would listen to reason. Each generation is given a time to debate with their fathers, maybe because it depends on the narrative of the climate at the time. You know, my brothers were 1970s, so they were in a combative mood. But in my case, I was just listening and observing.
You tried politics, and a lot of people even thought that your entry was a very good, it's all welcome development.
Yes.
But things turned sour.
Yes.
Would you mind talking about it, or are you comfortable talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it?
no problem. Well, as a good soldier, the majority in the City Council of Cebu was diminished because of the removal of then Councilor James Cuenco. And so the group decided that maybe we should have somebody appointed in the meantime. At least we have one foot on one side of the of the door and the other on the other side. Just in case Councilor James Cuenco is not cleared by the Court of Appeals, at least we already have a councilor, which is ours.
Okay.
But we had a gentleman's agreement that if he was cleared, I would willingly give way to him.
Okay.
Now, I wanted to do that actually within the 5 months that I was an incumbent councilor. The problem is there is such a thing as dereliction of duty, or you cannot just leave your post just because you want to honor your word to a colleague, no?
Yeah.
So I had to wait for that order to come out. And then I really didn't have plans of running because I know how politics is today. It's very different from before, no? And I have certain values and principles that I believe in. But, eventually, in fact, originally I announced I wasn't going to run. And then, of course, everybody said, oh, why aren't you going to run? Biyaan mami nimo, murag di kamukuyo. So, as a good soldier, I said, okay, I'm going to run with you guys. And then, just to show that di ko mamiya, and I did pretty well because, not to lift my own chair, from way down there, I went up to number 4 in the surveys.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I wasn't willing to buy votes. That's the other thing. The third is, dili BOPK mo nipil din ako. Nipil din ako, mga kauban ro po nako. Kaya nag-single voting naman. Kaya katong mga nasa top 8, hinahinay naman sila kanaog. And perhaps they saw me as a threat for 2022 with the way I was running my campaign. So at the end, I was right. I shouldn't have run.
But I hope you're not bitter.
No, not at all. Because the very day that I knew I was not going to buy votes, I already knew I was a compromise candidate. Because that is the kind of politics we have. Of course, I had the wherewithal to buy votes. In fact, I didn't have to campaign like some people. They don't have to campaign. They just have to buy votes. They'll win.
Yeah.
But, di mo na ako prinsipyo good.
Pero giving the opportunity again to run in the next election, would you?
I've been doing public service for a long time, being in media, helping people we don't know, calling up people because this guy needs something, and I've been doing a lot of charity work. So, I've always believed that you don't need to be in public office to be in public service. So, whether I'm in public office or not, to me, it's just an additional title.
We should have this kind of conversation, maybe off camera, longer conversation over a cup of coffee. But to wrap this up, I just want to touch the military side of you.
Yes.
You were the general,
Yes.
the general of the reservist.
1901st,
yeah.
Ready Reserve.
There is an argument whether ROTC will be reinstated as a mandatory subject. So what's your take on that?
There's just no two ways about it. You're either ready to defend your country or not at all. The militants who are very much against ROTC, they wrote about Andres Bonifacio as the real national hero, ready to fight for their country. But when you talk about ROTC, they're saying, we're going to fight China. We can't beat China. So, you can't have it both ways. So, you're either a Filipino or you're not.
I love this conversation,
Yes.
and I couldn't thank you enough for giving us your insights and your thoughts about issues. So I would like to thank you, Eric, again.
Daghang salamat, sir. Thank you,
salamat,
Thank
Bay.
you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Espina, and we'll be back for more in My Side of Town. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Welcome to My Side of Town. Five of 7 marine turtle species in the world can be found in the Philippines. But these marine turtles are threatened by human activities. stop poaching, egg hunting, slaughter, illegal fishing, and pollution. Help save our endangered marine turtles. A friendly reminder from MyTV Cebu, your channel, my channel, and also brought to you by the International Marketing Group, or IMG, Kaiser International Health Group Incorporated, and De Los Reyes Optical Clinic.
Our featured personality first got her national recognition in the early 80s when she became the grand champion of the Super Wheel search for Singing Star. From there was no turning back for this Cebuana songbird. She has been reaping laurels, and her name has become a byword in the Cebu music industry. Then, as people thought she has already reached the end of her road as a singer, she catapulted back to fame after making it to the Tawag ng Tanghalan quarterfinals. This is the story of Girly Lapinid Las Piñas.
She gained national recognition when she became the Tawag ng Tanghalan defending champion, and her exceptional singing prowess has brought her to the quarterfinals. This Cebuana songbird captured the hearts of television audience nationwide, and her family, friends and fans in Cebu followed her musical trip with optimism that she would clinch the title. But many years prior to her Tawag ng Tanghalan stint, Girly Lapinid Las Piñas was already an established singer in Cebu. As a young girl already gifted with a golden voice, Girly began joining radio amateur singing contests.
Sugod ang akong pagkanta-kanta sa 7 years old pa ko.
Okay.
Unya kanang nag-join na dayon ko adto sa Wiwi Jamboree sa DYRC. Unya si Maestro Mil Villarreal adto ang pianist. Unya kanang ang first gani nako adto nga song is Maybe This Year, Maybe Next Year, Maybe Never. Unya at least first nga audition na dala po dayon ko.
It was in the early 80s when Girly became Region 7's bet for the Super Wheel Search for Singing Star National Finals in Manila. It was her first national exposure, and she became the grand champion.
1983, Sir Dante, I joined the Super Wheel Search for Singing Star. Oo niya. Mo to nga 1983 dayon na grand champion ko adto national champion sa Super Wheel Search for Singing Star. Folk art.
Her victory could have been her key to national stardom, but Girly opted to stay in her home base, Cebu. She fell in love and became Mrs. Girly Lapinid Las Piñas, wife of Cesar Las Piñas Jr., an audio specialist and owner of then Cebu's #1 recording studio, the Mutya Recording Studio. Now a wife and a mother, Girly juggled her time attending to domestic concerns and nurturing her singing career. Her family has become her source of strength. Cebuano songwriters handpicked her to interpret their entries to the Cebu Popular Music Festival a number of times.
Diri na sa ato ang Cebu Popular Music Festival nag-start ko sa 5th Cebu Popular Music Festival. Dayon nahimo tong second prize ang akong song Katahong Sayamog. Si Ramon Abellana, si Dr. Ramon Abellana. Unya dayon pagka 7th or 8th Cebu Pop Music kang Melito Baklay nga bituon sa Pangandoy. Then there was also a song of Roland Amila, pero nakalimot lang ko unsa to nga song. Cebu Pop gihapon to, sir. Then with Father Jed Bellones nga song also. Then pagka 29th Cebu Popular Music Festival mo to nga nahimo kong best interpreter sa song ni June Cabillar.
No doubt, Girlie has cemented her celebrity status in Cebu. However, just as some people thought her star has already faded out, she proved them all wrong. Everybody was taken aback by her outstanding performance when she made it to the country's most popular and prestigious singing competition, Tawag ng Tanghalan.
Year 2010 hangtod sa pila to ka years, murag ning nakalaylo ko sa akong singing career, kaya na-concentrate una ko sa akong trabaho ug sa pag-take care ni June. And then finally, pagka 2016 then, nang balik ko sa akong singing career, joining the Tawag ng Tanghalan. And then, ang nakapa-inspire, ang nakapa-conjure na ko nga mo join ko sa Tawag ng Tanghalan, ang akong mga anak. Oo. Unya. After then, of course, kaya naman ni June nga makalihok-lihok naman siya at that time. Unya, ning okay ra sa siya nga mo join ko.
Si Ate Girl na Las Piñas ang ating bagong kampiyon mula sa Visayas!
Girlie, making it to the Tawag ng Tanghalan was an emotional journey. Blessings for the end.
Mga ganyan to, wala ko gatuo nga madala ko, sir. Uy, sus, ang ako ging reaction at that time na gitawagan ko nga kanina, nagsige kog hilak sa kalipay, yun na ba ko ga-expect nga madako, niya. Then, kanang gipangutan na day questionnaire, nagikuan sa ko nga, why I joined. Then, mauto siya, nga the main reason why I joined is because kanang gusto na ko nga kanang makasave ko og kanang bali money para sa kanang para sa artificial legs ni June.
Although the Tawag ng Tanghalan quarter and restback finals was her last stop, to her family, friends, and kababayans, Girlie Las Piñas is still the ultimate champion.
It's the passion of music nga naka-add more inspiration nga magpadayon ko sa kanang sa akong kinabuhi, pag-take care sa akong family ni June, sa akong mga anak, sa akong mga apo.
What are you doing the rest of your life? North and south and east and west of your life. I have only one request of your life, that you spend it all with me. All the seasons and the times of your days, all the nickels and the times of your days.
Para nako, for June, thank you so much with the kanang sa daghan atong sa atong kaminyo on June for about 30 years. We have ups and downs sa atong married life, but yet here we are staying stronger og kanang padayon ang ato ang paghiusa, paghinigugma ay sa usag-usa. And with that, maumangganina nga nahataga, na blessan ta og upat ka mga anak, si Cheryl, si Claire, si Junjun, ug si Charles. And then, atong mga anak, si Cheryl ug si Claire, nangaminyo, unya, nanay mga apo, si si Courtney Therese, si Jesse Emmanuel, unya og si Kendall Claire. And sa akong mga anak ug sa akong mga apo, you are the source of kanang para kanang to stay kanang stronger sa pagpakabuhi niining kalibutan, and the source of my inspiration also to kanang always continue sa kanang ako ang singing career ug sa pagtrabaho.
Fall of my life, all I ever will recall of my life is all of my life with you.
Once a singer, always a singer. And Girlie is not just an ordinary singer. She has seasoned with age, and her voice has become smoother. She can hit the high notes, even with a smile. Truly Cebu's pride. More to come with My Side of Town after the break. Hold on.
Be kind to your eyes with Transitions lenses. Transitions adapt to changing light while protecting your eyes from glare and UV.
Welcome to My Side of Town.
Welcome back to My Side of Town. I feel great today. We have wonderful guests. First was Eric Espina, and now I have with me. She is a travel writer and columnist, take note, lived in 5 different cities around the world and traveled to 40 countries. Wow. As a weekly travel column at Sunstar Weekend, that's every Sunday. And she is also a MyTV, part of MyTV family, because she is hosting Tribes. That's a show on MyTV. As a matter of fact, the show was nominated as Best Talk Show Magazine Show in the 2019 Cebu Arts Diocesan Mass Media Awards. And she just launched a book, her first published book, Postcards from Elsewhere. So we have a lot of things to talk about here. So please welcome the beautiful Rachel Arandilia. Hi.
Hi, Dante. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good.
All right. You look stunning.
Oh, thank you.
I'm blown away by your resume, by your credentials. Lived in 5 different cities around the world. So can you name what are these places?
Oh, mostly within the Philippines.
Okay.
I've lived in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. I grew up in Mindanao, in Iligan, and then of course we transferred here in Cebu, and then for a while I also lived and worked in Manila, and also worked in Alabang as well. I mean, in NCR anyway.
Right.
And for a Singapore startup, so sometimes I go to Singapore as well, and then during my exchange around 2017, yeah, I lived in the States in Philadelphia.
Yeah, because you went to Wharton School in Philly.
Yeah.
Was that a postgraduate course? Or?
I did my MBA in Asian Institute of Management.
AIM, yeah.
Yes, in AIM for 2 years, actually 16 months. But on the last term, I finished via an exchange program in Wharton School.
40 countries. You've been to 40 countries. What are these countries?
I lost count actually. I didn't know it was 40.
I googled it.
Yeah, mostly around US, in North America,
All right.
in Asia, of course, Southeast Asia, and in Europe.
Okay.
So I guess it sums up to 40.
Do you have any particular place, your favorite place in particular that you've been to?
Okay, let's talk about abroad, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
I love New York.
Right.
I love their coffee. I love the people, the culture, and I like Europe, of course. I like Paris. Yeah. So those are my two favorites, I
You
guess.
talk about arts and culture.
Yeah.
And romance. You know, Paris.
Definitely.
And of course, New York, the avant-garde artworks there, and the culture, the people. Was it hard to adjust? Like, you go to a particular place, stay there for a month. How long do you stay if you like visit a place? How long do you stay there?
It can be as quick as a few days, especially if it's near, like let's say Hong Kong or Singapore, maybe just 3-4 days. But then it can be as long as like 4 months.
Right.
Yeah, so it depends really on how far it is, especially if I'm thinking I want to go to Brazil, and it's a long flight, maybe 20 plus hours.
Yes.
So I would rather prefer to stay there more than a month. Yeah.
How's the transition? Like me, for example, I can imagine myself living, for example, living in Bangkok, getting accustomed to the lifestyle of the people, getting into the groove, and then I move again from Bangkok to another place, which is quite a bit opposite to the lifestyle of the people there in Bangkok. So how do you make the transition, and how do you adjust?
I think it's something I would say that is a strength of mine. Like, I'm a very flexible person, open to new things. I'm open to risk.
Okay.
So, like an entrepreneur, right? You have to be open to risk, open to new things, open to trying new things. So I would say it's a good asset of mine to be flexible, to be like as I said in my book, a chameleon.
Yeah.
But in that sense, also, I have a lot of weaknesses. Like, they say I'm a Jane of all trades, a master of none. But then when it comes to that, like assimilating to the environment, I would say that it's a good asset that I have. I think.
You travel a lot. You're a well-traveled person. As a matter of fact, you have a travel column on Sunstar Weekend.
Yeah.
Basically, how long you been writing for Sunstar?
Since 2012, and it started like a very simple, travel guide, like listicles about travel. But then I also adjusted to the readers, and I noticed that they enjoyed like the more personal travel stories. So now, like, my style is more personal, more travel stories, like a story cartography. I go to a place not to talk about the food or what to do, but then more of the experience and the characters that I encounter in my travels. So I get a lot of feedback online, or readers messaging me that they like this type of stories, and yeah, I adjusted.
I'm just curious, what's your typical day like?
Here?
Now, yeah.
In Cebu? Very routine. Not like in travel. So in travel, I get to be more open and experimental, but then in the mornings, I work at home. I wake up, work at home, help my child get ready for school, drop him off to school, and then I spend most of my day in my day job, which is my own business also in printing.
So you run a printing press. Is this a family business or your own?
My own, but then my dad is also like part of the corp. It's a corporation.
Your family runs a string of businesses. In fact, your father is a financial guru, if I would say that. So, and you, being a product of AIM, so eventually do you see yourself running the family business eventually when your dad says, okay, I'm going to retire and Rachel, you take over?
I guess, yeah. There's a lot of industries that they go into, like financial, healthcare.
Yes.
And it's interesting to me, but at the same time, I also want to, start from the ground up, like try to, how do you call that? Work hard on my own and learn the lessons on my own, and not just serve it on a silver platter, that kind of thing. Yeah, but then my I and also my sister and my brother have been starting to be active in the family business also.
Okay. Before I ask you about the book that you just launched, I just want to talk about your show here.
Okay.
Because I think it was private to the first pre-production meeting that you had in the conference room, I guess, when you came over here for the first time. And now it's been doing good. In fact, it got nominated in the 2019 CAM Award, so I'd like to congratulate you for that. So basically, for those who still have to watch Tribes, what is the show all about, and why Tribes?
I really love communities, making communities, and I've started like a few, community building stuff, like of course Logos Nights. It started with that.
Yes, yes.
I love hosting events and then gathering people together. Even when I wasn't here in Cebu, when I was in Manila, when I was in the States, that's also a strength of mine, like how to gather people from different tribes. And I always get like a lesson, like example in my dance, with my dance friends. I apply what they teach me in other aspects, even in business, and also my surfing friends. I apply them also in other, like in my personal life. So just because they're not in silos, and you can see connections from the lessons you learn, let's say in surfing or in dancing or in business, you can apply in many aspects of your life. And that's, I think, the main thing that I wanted to communicate to the audience, that there are different tribes. Of course, I think we covered the salsa tribe.
Yes, I like that episode.
The pole. Yeah, which one's your favorite?
I think salsa.
Salsa, okay.
Yeah.
Pole dancing, and also
I've seen that too.
Podcast. There were a lot.
Practically, I think I've seen all episodes because I was there. I'm mostly there up when Kirby is editing your videos, so sometimes I take a look.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to the book now. Postcards from Elsewhere. If I quote, again, I Googled it, a travel anthology of a travel writer who has become a strong cartographer, mapping her world not with landmarks and places, but with a cast of colorful characters and life lessons she encountered during her many travels, unquote. Is that correct?
Yeah,
all right.
Pretty much.
Okay, so this is a book. Can we show this? Here. Can we get a close-up of that? Or let me hold this. Okay,
sure.
All right. Here, there, okay. So it's postcards from elsewhere.
Yep.
It's a nutshell. What's inside of what's in the pages?
It's a travel anthology here. So it's a full color book, by the way. It's I think a total of 28 travel essays, but also featuring illustrations from also Cebuano there.
Okay.
Also Cebuano artist Selena Paredes. So everything about this product, about this book, or this work of art is really Cebuano made. From the printing to the binding, the construction. It's hardbound. This one's hardbound.
Yeah.
The publishing is all made in Cebu. So we're very proud about that. Yeah. So here, I like how very hands-on my publisher was with creating this book.
Your publisher is?
Donald Villamero of Deco Publishing.
Hi, Donald. We miss you.
Yes.
So, congratulations, because you had a very successful book launch.
Thank you. Actually, it was sold out in 3 weeks.
Wow.
So we're now on our second print run.
So how many copies were published during the launch?
I don't know, because my publisher knows the numbers.
Okay.
Because he runs everything. I'm not self-publishing, so because there's two types of publishing actually. I only knew this through Donald.
Okay.
And with traditional, it's more like like he helps me with marketing, with printing, with everything.
Right.
Like when you produce a show
Yes.
or a movie.
Yes.
So it was something like that. He produced this book, so everything in the business aspect of it, he takes care of. So
Like, for example, in TV production, there is a process we call pre-production, then the video shoot, and post-production.
Yes.
In case like a book, for example, how long would it take from the conceptualization to writing the manuscripts, editing the manuscripts, to publishing, and all?
It depends, but if you're self-publishing, I think it'll be very quick.
Okay.
But at the same time, and you have all creative control, but then you have to do everything.
Yeah.
Marketing, selling your book, proofreading. But mine took more than a year.
Right.
Yeah, because there was a lot of back and forth. But most of the work I did actually was sending the manuscript and working with them with the edits. So that was it. That was most of 2018. And then this year they focused more on printing, finding the funding to produce the books, those things.
So copies were sold out. If ever you want to have a copy, where would you go?
We're doing our second print run right now. You can order online, and we've been getting orders from all over the world. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, in U.S., in
fantastic.
Europe, India, Singapore. Yeah. So it's great. My friends have been very supportive. Also, it's been a dream of mine to publish a book. So they've also been my best cheerleaders and promoters. Yeah.
So, any deadline for the second batch of?
Maybe, hopefully, first week November, because I needed to bring a few books to Europe when I travel next month, and we're also launching our softbound version soon. And the hardbound would be a bit too much for major bookstores to sell. So maybe we're hoping to sell the softbound versions in all the major bookstores.
Do you plan of putting it online just in case people would like to read it online, or?
I think the experience of reading on paper is better. I mean, it's really up to when I sign the contract with my publisher. It's really up to him on how to sell it. Also.
Okay. So she's the one controlling it now.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
I get royalties lang.
Okay.
But I like it that way. I mean, I have zero experience in publishing, of course, and it's been a learning process. Donald has been a very good, collaborator in making this happen. But personally, I don't want an ebook version because I'm traditional. I'm old school. I like a real book.
Yeah.
But
I love old school too.
Yeah, I mean the smell of the book.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Anyway. Thank you, Rachel, for your time. I know you've been so busy, but at least you found time for this one. So it's an honor to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, Rachel Larandilia. We'll be back for more on My Side of Town in a short while.
Be kind to your eyes with Transitions lenses. Transitions adapt to changing light while protecting your eyes from glare and UV.
My old man, my late father, was a very good guitar player. Since I was a boy, until his last breath, his guitar was on his side. At first, I found his music kind of weird, until I found out that he was playing jazz. Eventually, I learned to appreciate it and embrace it. Decades later, I befriended a very good jazz guitarist in Cebu. I was fascinated by his chord improvisations and impeccable guitar playing. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Tito Quijano.
In the roster of Cebuano musicians, one of the names that stands out is Tito Quijano, composer, arranger, and singer. Music has been a special part of Tito's life since he was little. He grew up with his father's musical instruments and learned how to play them even before he could read.
Tito, kano sa ka nagsugod og play sa guitar? What age? Kinsay ni-inspire mo? Kinsay ni-influence mo to play the guitar?
Akong amahan, sir, music-minded, you cannot. Nagpalit na sa mga one set of instrument. Niya, pagkataon ako, naana na siya daan. Makita na ako daan. Niya, mga tingali 4-6 years old, maghikap na ko gitara, tudluan kong papa, nota or widow. Hangtod nga ako nagitigduyo ganig amateur sa akong kabataan, di pa kutuhan. Naago ko, nagsugod na ko grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, duyog na ko amateur ana o sa simbahan mga choir. Di sila mutuo sa akong kabata, kay malmal gi ko sa akong amahan ana.
Tito's thirst for other music genres led him to jazz. He was already a seaman, a chief mate as a matter of fact, and his ship frequently docked at the New Orleans harbor. Jazz originated in New Orleans, and there, Tito's love for jazz music began to blossom.
Nagsakay ko barko, Sir Dante, mga 25 years old naman ko ato. Unya, muag to mag New Orleans.
Asiman ka?
Siman mo ko, di magjug ko banda ko from kuan to shipmate. Yung, maminaw ko sa mga tukar, di ko kasabot ani mga tukar. Hangtod nga ingon tong lalaki nga des tindahan palit ng mga libro. Muna sila mga libro Sir Dante. Ito apo tundaghang kay dito so madugay na kong basa-basa giganahan ko nalam na lang gid ako ang jazz bahala nagkatauan ko.
Tito plays regularly at the Mandarin Plaza Hotel. He arranges songs for other singers and fellow musicians and spends the rest of his time exploring in jazz improvisations. My association with this music genius started in the social media. Eventually, our passion for music led to the making of an album of 12 standard songs, all cover versions.
2 years ago, Tito and I came up with an album. We decided to come up with an album with 12 songs, all cover versions of standards, old-time favorites, accompanied by Tito himself using his acoustic guitar, and we called it With Strings Attached. This is not commercially released though, but we're giving copies to friends. As a matter of fact, we're running out of copies. We're burning more copies for our friends and other people if ever they want to have a copy of this.
I stopped just across from your door, but you anymore. So back to my room, and there in the gloom I cried tears of goodbye.
Tito does not confine himself to the latest technology that makes things easier for a musician. He prefers to always go back to the basics. He continues to improvise, but always returns to the music genre he loves most, jazz.
Kini unta, Sir God, mahimo man nila og dili nila palabon ang time sa ani o. Magsige mo sila labaw og time ani.
Computer?
Oh. Kung dili ako, sir, kay mo ensayo man ko 10 to 12 hours a day. Yung hikap ra ko 1 hour, 2 hours ani. So, di kay kumutan og YouTube kay ang mata may mo mapaspas ang nanihinay imong dunggan. So, sige jud kong maminaw ra gyud. Paminaw ra gyud ako para mo kusog gini ako.
solitary moment, his guitar becomes his best friend. His music speaks of his longing and simple ambition, and that is to excel, to be one of the best. After the interview with Tito Quijano, I felt light, relieved from stress. Truly, his music soothes the tired nerves, calms my weary soul. Well, I hope you enjoyed that segment, same as I did. Thanks to our guests, Eric Espina, Rachel Larandilla, Girly Las Piñas, Tito Quijano, and you for joining me. Until the next episode, I'm Dante Luzon.